I've seen many terrible things during my watch, but none more horrifying than a wasted second-round draft pick. That's why I always use my Fantasy Footballer's Ultimate Draft Kit to guide me through the cold. Though my friends and family league keeps getting smaller and smaller, my fantasy team's just getting stronger and stronger. Join me at www.ultimatedraftkit.com and prepare yourself to fight the good fight. Winter is coming, but so is my #FootClan title. I guess I do know something after all.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
Oh, it is so good to be back.
It's good to be back, America.
It is good to be back. The Fantasy Footballers Podcast, a fresh edition for this Tuesday, June 21st.
Let's double check the date. Do we got that right?
We got it right.
All right.
This show's getting out a little bit later. I just got back in from New York.
New York City.
That's right. Conquered that town.
Oh, man.
Took care of business. Conquered New York.
I'm so happy you could pass that bill for us.
Yeah,
I
went
DFS
there.
Bill.
I went there and took care of the DFS problems. Jason and Mike left a little early, but I stayed around to make sure things got done because that's what I do.
Yeah, you're the finisher.
But I was eager to get home to this 120-degree Arizona heat.
Oh, man, it is nasty.
I really was, though. I was happy. Get out here to the dry heat, get indoors, and you're fine.
I love that it's called an excessive heat warning. They're like,
right.
It's hot outside, but today, you know what?
Excessive.
It's excessive.
It's more a message to the earth. It's yeah, you're being excessive right now.
Stop.
We should find them. We should find Mother Nature. But I'm happy to be back, and we're happy to be back on the show today. We've got a sleepers edition of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast.
June sleepers.
Yes, June sleepers, which is great. We have a number of sleepers in the Ultimate Draft Kit, and we've got a bunch more on the show today that we're going to bring to light. I've got a guy I'm really excited about. Everybody loves sleepers. I mean, that's the truth.
Those are a lot of times how you end up winning leagues or staying in a league after your star goes down is because, oh, thank goodness I got that late flyer. Also, do you guys know that football is coming really, really soon?
Yes,
I was watching Red Zone.
You're the one that always keeps up on that. That way we know.
I was watching Red Zone replay and realizing, like, now the NBA Finals, which amazing, are over. It's football season. I'm in my head. I'm hearing all the like football drop noises from Sunday morning. Oh, I'm
You
just
seem
stoked.
excited.
I'm super excited for football.
As am I. It's going to be great. People are going to be drafting here in hopefully as late as possible, but we're not that far from August. And we have a Dynasty League draft we're trying to figure out the dates on right now.
Yep.
And several other things. And if you need a good league, check out footclanleagues.com. You can get in there if you're a jointhefoot.com member. There are a lot of great leagues on there with great people. The people of the Foot Clan are just incredible. So I do want to give an update to everybody who has voted for us in the podcast awards. A lot of people are asking when. Well, two things. They're asking when we're giving away all the actual goodies that we promised everybody. And that'll happen today.
Yes.
That'll happen today. So stay tuned on Twitter. We're going to post a big thread with all the winners and send out a bunch of good things to all of you out there. And then they're asking when the actual awards are being announced. And we won't know until they're announced who wins, and that will be tentatively on the 26th of this month.
Yes.
So we're not very far away from that. We'll find out if we got it done, which I'm optimistic. I think we did.
We'll find out if I can survive.
Yeah, Mike might go into a cave if we don't take it home.
Andy and I will hold down the.
Yeah, we'll be all right. So what else is going on? We got the sleeper show today. We got some news and notes. We all just got back from FSTA, the Fantasy Sports Trade Association conference in New York City, which was good. Got to talk to a lot of the industry people, the people from the Fantasy Sports Network, which we're also on, and it was a good time. You guys have any thoughts on New York City?
New York is a very interesting place, so much different than where we are. But it's like you said, it's great to get to go hang out with people who are cut from the same cloth as you, so to speak, and they're all obsessed, and there are these people. I would say the most interesting thing is when you start associating a human being with their Twitter avatar. Like, we ran into Matt Kelly, the Fantasy Mansion, on Twitter, and he's got this kind of iconic thing where it's a green monster and he's got a martini. And that has become what he looks like to me.
Sure, and then
Wait, you're a human?
So when he came up to us, he's like, "Oh, hey guys, I know Matt Kelly." I'm like, you sit there for like
You're the
what
green
feels
monster.
like forever. You're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Oh, and then you realize who it is, and it's great to actually put a face to these Twitter avatar people.
Absolutely. New York there's 10 million people on every street. I mean, that's what I learned about it. So, hey, you want to follow us? Do so on Twitter at the FF Ballers. Always tweeting a lot of good fantasy football information, all the latest from the show. We're also on YouTube. In fact, we have a show after the show about that insanely good Game of Thrones episode that I managed to avoid any spoilers from because my wife and I watched it last night when I got back. So that was a great episode. We'll talk about that. Like I said, we're on the Fantasy Sports Network on Facebook, and you can check us out on the web at thefantasyfootballers.com. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the news.
News and notes from around the league.
I want to welcome everybody to the golden hour of Coach Speak.
Oh, it is upon us.
It is going to continue from now until the beginning of the season, because coaches know how to talk up their players, and beat writers from local teams know how to talk up their players.
And they also know how to get clicks on their articles by having a headline that is not really what the article says.
That's kind of
Let's
what
give
it's
an
about.
example. Let's give the Jared Abbrederis example.
Yeah, so
Jared Abbrederis, wide receiver for the Green Bay Packers. Go ahead.
I like Jared Abbrederis a lot, and there were two different Jared Abbrederis examples here, one of which I saw this article headline saying that Jeff Janis has earned the trust of Aaron Rodgers. And so I'm like, oh, man, this is bad news, because for me, I believe in Abbrederis because I don't believe that Janis has his trust. And so I read the article, and it was talking about last year after he caught like that super long bomb that
in
Aaron
the
Rodgers,
Cardinals playoff game.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers said, "Good job today." That is literally what the article said. But the headline was that Jeff Janis is earning the trust of Aaron Rodgers. And then with Jared Abbrederis, there was a report came out that said Jared Abbrederis is he's not even on the 53-man roster that I think the ESPN guy put out. And I'm like, what? No way. I believe in him. Maybe I'm just an idiot, which, to be fair, I am. And so I Googled for some more information on this, and immediately, first result that comes up that was from 2 hours before was Mike McCarthy saying how Abbrederis is essentially the star of training camp this year, and that he was running excellent routes. He was exceptional and exemplary. Those were his two words used. So, look, just be careful of the news. And with that said, let's get into the news.
Yeah, well, I will say this. We're going to do a couple of different shows with our top 10 tricks and tips for the upcoming season. And so we'll get into, I guess, reading through all of the madness that comes with the Coach Speak in the different articles. So let's talk about Breshad Perriman.
Yeah.
Because somebody has to.
Well, we had to pre-record because of the New York trip, and then of course
the last two episodes.
Of course, all this Perriman news happens. Perriman tears his ACL. He's out for the season.
It was good that we pre-recorded because we let all the chips fall then.
Yeah, and then Adam Schefter, who broke the news about the ACL, comes back. Oh, breaking news! It's not a torn ACL. He just needs some kind of stem cell magic injection, and then his knee will be fine. So
give us some fantasy context there. What can we be thinking about here with Perriman's?
I can give you some
lack of a career so far.
Medical context, and not a doctor. But the reality is, he has a problem with his knee. They thought it was torn. They got a second opinion, and then they say, no, this can heal without surgery. Well, great. But then you go in and you do a stem cell treatment, which says, look, this thing is not healing on its own, and we don't expect it to heal on its own before camp unless we do something. That's why they did something. to me, with a guy that had, the MCL last the whole year last year and the weird problems with his health, I don't trust Perriman at all for this upcoming year. And I really like the talent. I liked him coming out of college a lot. He was, a good target for me early last year, but I don't trust it at all. And so Perriman might play this year, might have problems. I think him and Mike Wallace just eat into each other, and I'm not really loving either personally.
I think what people have to realize with all the news about Perriman is that there's still a long way to go from semi-healthy to fantasy value. Like, you still, even if he's healthy, he still has to have the right role in the offense. And it's not like there's been a plethora of Ravens wide receivers over the years that have given you that kind of a value. Steve Smith was the first one to kind of recently to break onto the scene and give you week-to-week value in that offense. But
Bolden was okay.
Yeah, there you go. And Anquan Bolden is the opposite health-wise of Breshad Perriman's current situation. And you have other guys in the mix now. I mean, you read about Dennis Pitta right now, who they said right as of today that he looks like Dennis Pitta and he should have a valuable...
Well, he always looks like Dennis Pitta.
Well,
in the mirror.
Not on the field, though. I mean, he hasn't been there. So I think there are so many question marks with that offense. But we're going to talk... I'll tease this. We're going to talk about one of the pieces of that offense in our sleeper segment today.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of people who noted our water bet on the last show in which you repeatedly said, that is bananas.
Yeah.
When I said Kenneth Dixon would outperform Justin Forsett, which I think more people agreed with you that I was bananas, but
yes.
But that's okay because
really? That was the sentiment?
No, I don't know. I'm just giving people
there
credit.
was some sentiment out there that agreed with Jason.
Did you see
That's great.
my tweet about Justin Forsett's snap percentage?
No.
He was
no, I was busy.
For the 10 games. Yeah, that's right. You were flying across the country. For the 10 games that Justin Forsett played in last year, he was on the field 66.7% of the time.
I don't care.
That's ahead of Adrian Peterson, Frank Gore. He was the guy.
What was Kenneth Dixon's?
And he was
what
good.
was Kenneth Dixon's snap percentage last year?
0%. Exactly.
Exactly. He wasn't on the team.
No, but my point
is really good.
But when he went out,
what?
I can't think of the name of the back.
Taliaferro?
Buck
Allen?
Allen.
There's many there.
There
that
are.
will eat into Justin Forsett.
And so what happened when Buck Allen had 67% of the snap percentage? They didn't
have anybody else.
You just named a bunch of guys.
Not last
Taliaferro,
year.
Terrence West.
Okay, Taliaferro was injured. Forsett broke his arm. So yes, the snap percentage of Buck Allen was very high.
Well, when they were all healthy, Forsett was high, and I love the water bet.
You will eat the bananas at the end of the year.
Oh, it's going to be a banana in the face.
All right. Well, let's talk about Pete Carroll and this Seahawks offense that everybody wants to know about. He came out, he said that the offense will resemble the form in the second half of last year. Again, coach speak to me because you're saying we're going to resemble the good part of the year. I mean, you want to succeed in your offense, and last year, they didn't have Marshawn Lynch. They won't have him this year. So, yeah, they're going to put more into Russell Wilson's hands. To me, I'm so high on Russell Wilson. We have been. Jason's been kind of the flag waver at the front of that parade, but we all have him rated high. I might move him up even more.
I think I am too.
And I love him. I love Tyler Lockett. Mike and I have made no qualms about our love for Tyler Lockett as a well-rounded receiver. He's somebody who is dynamic. He's somebody who, if the targets are there, I think will surprise people. And right now, Tyler Lockett is going in the 7th round, the back of it, 7-11. Baldwin is 4-10. I'd take Lockett every day right now.
What I think the important part of this news information is just that he's even acknowledging it. That he is saying, it went really well for us, and we want to try and model after that. So the fact that he is aware of it, he's talking to the public about it, I personally think is a big deal because that was one of the biggest fantasy questions of the offseason. Who are the Seahawks now? Are they going to try and go back with Rawls and turn Rawls into Lynch and just ride that again? Or are they going to let Russell Wilson ball out like he did the second half? So Seahawks offense rising to me.
We'll probably do a show on the offenses that we like this season because a lot of the sleeper or value or those type of guys come from, putting yourself in the position to draft guys in a good offense. in fantasy football. And so we'll probably do a show about that. Seattle's definitely at the top of that list. They just have so many dynamic players. Russell Wilson is a force. So let's go ahead and talk about the Colts for a second. We know Frank Gore's in the backfield. Let's talk about undrafted free agent Josh Ferguson, Mike.
Yes, and I just want him to – I want this name on the radar.
Appear on the radar? Yeah.
Yeah, so Foot Clan, if you have not heard of Josh Ferguson –
that was more sonar, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
That worked. I like it.
That was Ferguson's signal.
But
he came in.
So start paying attention to Josh Ferguson. Right now, Robert Turbin is the backup for Frank Gore, and we know that Frank Gore is an Iron Man, but look, the Colts are reportedly – they like him. He was undrafted, but they were thinking about drafting him as early as the 4th round. They just liked other guys a little bit more. So this is a name to monitor where if Frank Gore doesn't go down, Josh Ferguson could earn a role in this offense.
If you look last year and the other Josh, the square-shaped Josh Robinson, what you did see from the Colts was a willingness to give some third downs away to another back because they didn't want Gore to be worn down. That could happen again. So this is put him on the radar, sonar, whatever you want to call it.
Well, and we've seen the Colts have two competent fantasy backs where Bradshaw was the passing guy and he was scoring touchdowns and boatloads, and just Ferguson's very interesting to me.
All right, Jason, you should take this next bit of news.
The next bit of news is
it's not really new news, so let's clarify.
Yeah,
that.
it's older, but Austin Seferian Jenkins, he issued an apology for getting kicked out of practice and then arguing with Bucs fans on Twitter. I was high on ASJ just from a talent standpoint, but I will say this. I'm not high on ASJ anymore, and this situation is actually one that I believe warrants that, because you have a coach kicking him out of practice. You have an alternative option there. It's not like they have to have ASJ. And then what his response was, like, you kick a guy out of practice, that's to see, like, look, you got to step this up or you're not a part of this team. And then he goes on a baby rampage and shows that he does not have a good head on his shoulders. Yeah. And that's just, when I draft, there's a couple of other things I like. I like good offenses. I like good play callers. I like smart players. Like, that's one of those things I prefer. And ASJ to me seems like, a knucklehead that is not going to be a guy I want to put my trust in.
The thing is you overlook knuckleheadedness when you aren't putting up like 3 catches a week.
Right.
I mean, there's just so many red flags. There's so many guys. I'd take Dennis Pitta probably, over, well, maybe not.
Probably not him, but the point is, like,
there's just other options.
There's so many guys. I mean, you're telling me you wouldn't take Dwayne Allen over him?
Easily.
So Cameron Brate is on notice. Just as very, very deep right now. Yeah, though the sonar has to be very quiet, but that would be the name to pay attention to if something goes even more south with Seferian Jenkins.
All right, coach speak alert. The Florida Times Union expects the Jaguars to start Chris Ivory over TJ Yeldon.
I didn't understand why this was news, because I thought that was the assumption all along.
I think it didn't scare me off of Yeldon as one of my kind of what do I have him classified in our draft kit as? A sleeper?
I believe he is in as a sleeper.
Or a value.
Yeah, I think I have him in as a value.
Yeah.
I mean, by the way, sleepers are all values.
Yeah.
Just in case you're curious.
That's true.
We label them differently. The reason we call them sleepers is we're pretty much classifying these as guys that go outside the 9th round and beyond in drafts. But if you get a sleeper that works out, that is a value as well. Let's talk about the big salad.
He's back. We did it, America.
You can never fill up on too much salad.
No.
He's back for seconds. There are reports that Mike Davis, 4th-round pick last year, the running back who was not very good, and he might not make the 53. And Evan Silva tweeted out, look out for Shaun Draughn again. This is fantastic. I love it. And it is, look, I am one of the biggest Carlos Hyde supporters this year.
But he doesn't catch the ball.
No, he
really doesn't.
He's never been in that role as the pass catcher. So, and just for my own personal pride, to see Shaun Draughn rise again from the salad bar,
yes,
would be delightful.
Gabbert and him had a rapport on those check down Yeah. I mean,
he averaged 4.3.
I believe that's called fear.
Yeah, I was
fear.
just saying.
Take the ball.
It's an overstatement to say rapport, but they how about this? They played together.
They did, and Draughn was getting
and he was
catches
effective.
in bunches.
He was effective.
Well, spoiler alert, we will not have any sleepers from the San Francisco 49ers on this episode.
No.
But we will get into some awesome sleepers that are going to win your league for you if some of these guys pan out. Before we do that, we want to take a second and thank our awesome sponsor, Pristine Auction. You've heard us talk about them before. They are the best and only place to get sports memorabilia signed. Awesome stuff. It's not just sports. They have like movie posters and all sorts of things. So if you've got gifts you want to give, if you want to decorate your man cave or your woman cave, you want to get things looking really, really nice and have some cool stuff. You won't believe how cheap some of the stuff you can snag on there can be. And here's the thing. It's free and quick to register, free to bid. You only pay when you win. So I would say get on Pristine Auction. That's PRISTINE auction.com. Register for free, bid on stuff that's cheap, and if you don't get it, you don't spend anything and win some things at a great value. Make sure when you sign up that you said that you heard about them from the Fantasy Footballers and go there and win some stuff right now.
We also want to remind our listeners about SeatGeek. Look, SeatGeek is the place to get your tickets for sporting events, for concerts. The app is tremendously easy to use. And look, SeatGeek, they do all the price comparison for you. They search multiple ticket sites around the world, and they ensure that you're getting the best possible deal. They save you the time. They save you the money. They want you to get the most bang for your buck, and that's why every ticket on SeatGeek, they give it a grade. They give it a value. They let you know, are you paying fair price? Or are you getting a steal on that ticket? SeatGeek wants you to know about it, and this is what we need you to do, Foot Clan. You can get a $20 rebate, off of your first SeatGeek purchase. This is what you do. You download the free SeatGeek app. You go to the settings tab. You click add a promo code, and you know what code you got to use. You got to use Footballers, and they will send you $20 after you've made your first purchase. Download the free SeatGeek app today. Use promo code Footballers and save $20 and save even more on your ticket purchases.
All right, let's go ahead and get into some of these sleepers.
You are getting sleepy. Sleepy.
Yeah. We had to pull that one out of the archives. That's an archive drop right there. I got my Les Miserables tickets off of SeatGeek.
Yep. There you go.
You can get all the theater stuff off there, too. So, all right, let's go.
Where are we going to start here?
Well, look. Aforementioned Baltimore Ravens offense seems like a good place to start.
Okay, good, because this makes me so very happy.
That was an appropriate drop for how awesome this guy is.
That was superhero music.
That was the story time with Jason drop.
Yeah, well, I'll take over,
that.
and I'll take over, and I'll give you a little bit of story time on my sleeper, a sleeper that I will admit Mike was on board of first, and when he was, I was not. I think back on our election show, he liked them, and I thought, no, not in. And since then, I've studied a little bit more of his film. I've seen some more things break his way, and I'm talking about Kamar Aiken. Look, this guy is actually really good. The thing is he didn't have a great college production, comes in undrafted, bounces around from team to team. But he has the physical tools. His comps, his measurables are actually in the same area of like a DeAndre Hopkins. He's 6'2" with 4'5". Now, I'm not saying he is DeAndre Hopkins by any means, but he has the physical tools to get it done. So what if things break his way? Well, here's what's breaking his way. Rishard Perriman seems like he's going to be a health risk that is not going to come in and be the number one for Baltimore the way that people might have hoped coming in. And yet he will be playing and kind of taking some of that value away from Mike Wallace. There's also news saying that Steve Smith.
It's going to be a tough road for Smith.
It's going to be a tough road back. He talks about how he's not where he thought he would be now, and he admitted he just wants to get to a certain number of historical receptions.
He wants 1,000.
Yeah, he wants 1,000 receptions, and that's what he's playing for, which is he's pushing his body to do something that he's not going to be really great at. That leaves a wide open hole for Kamar Aiken, and the reality is we don't have to guess with him of whether he can do it. You think, well, what do you hope for when you draft a guy late? You hope for a guy that can be plugged in as a starter. After the bye week last year when things broke his way, the whole second half of the season, he was the 16th best wide receiver. He was the wide receiver 16. That is phenomenal for a guy that is being drafted right now in the 13th round. He has a rapport already with Joe Flacco. He's got the opportunity, the skill, and I want guys in a Mark Trestman offense, especially pass-catching guys, pass-catching running backs and wide receivers. Give me Kamar Aiken in the 13th round, and I've got a guy that I will be able to start in my lineups on a regular basis this coming year, and he's borderline free.
He was. I had him late last year, and he was very comfortable as a 2-3 option last year, where you felt you were going to have this baseline of production from Aiken just in total reception numbers.
If you're in a PPR 3 wide receiver league, I mean, Kamar Aiken is gold at the end of your draft. He's going to separate you.
Yeah, 13th round is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's absurd.
Yeah, that makes me so very happy
that his name is being brought up.
Yeah, and it's the world, I think, is coming around on Mr. Kamar Aiken, so I love that. The name that I want to bring up is a running back for the New York Jets. You think, what, Matt Forte can't be a sleeper? Because he cannot. You know who can be a sleeper? Bilal Powell. America, get it together. Bilal Powell is being drafted, and you know what? I went specifically for PPR. He's being drafted in the 11th round of PPR. And here's what Bilal Powell did last year. He had 9 games where he was actually fully healthy. In those 9 games, he averaged 54.5% of the snaps. So more than half of the time, Bilal Powell was on the field, and he was doing work. He was averaging 7 targets a game, almost 10 PPR points a game. A running back you can draft right now in the 11th round was averaging 10 points a game. That is absolutely ridiculous. Those are running back 2 numbers that people would gladly spend a 5th or 6th round pick on. You can get him in the 11th.
I have my hesitations here, and I'd like you to overcome them for me.
Okay, let me hear it.
Last year, no, I agree. Here's the thing that I like about him. They paid him. They trust him. 2 questions for you. One, they didn't have somebody like Matt Forte last year who was not just a decent pass-catching back,
sure,
an elite pass-catching running back. So speak to the Forte competition and speak to the importance of it being Fitzpatrick for Powell to have success, or do you not believe that the quarterback position matters in that situation?
I don't think the quarterback position matters too much, and what I would say to the Forte is, here's the reminder. The contract that Matt Forte got is almost identical to the contract that Bilal Powell got. So financially speaking, the Jets have said, Powell, you're basically as important as Matt Forte. Now, will Powell get that 54.5% of snaps? Maybe not. Maybe it goes down because, like you said, Chris Ivory's not a pass catcher, and that was Powell's role. But Powell is very familiar with the system. He is, when it comes down to like a 2-minute drill where you're soaking up these points, you're getting 3 dump-offs in a matter of a couple plays, I think that's Bilal Powell's job. And I don't see a situation where Forte completely usurps and passes Powell for passing down plays.
One more question there. Then Matt Forte right now is going in the 3rd round, which I think we all think is too high.
Yes.
Powell's going in the 11th. But let's pretend for a minute that Forte is available to you in the 5th round. Mike Wright, would you take Matt Forte in the 5th round or Bilal Powell in the 11th round? Which would you prefer? And I'll ask the same question to Jason. I'd like to get his thoughts.
In the 5th round, I could be interested actually in both. If you're talking, I can get him in the 5th,
right,
and then Powell in the 11th. I might just lock up the New York Jets backfield and call it a day. But if it's just the 1-to-1, I would still take Powell in that situation.
For me, I like Forte in the 5th. We are a little bit lower on him than the masses.
It's just not going to happen.
And I would be willing to take him in the 5th, but the reality is it depends on who's on the board. There are some guys. I would probably take Forte over most of the guys going in the 5th, but I do like a lot of guys currently going in the 5th. Your Ryan Matthews, Jonathan Stewart's, but I would probably take Forte.
Are you on board with the Powell argument, or are you? I'm reserving a little bit of my.
Here's how I feel about Powell as a sleeper.
Excitement.
I feel like the guys that are going in the draft around that 11+ at running back are not as good an option as Powell. Usually they're guys that are complete handcuffed, that can't score unless the guy in front of them gets injured, or they're, a rookie you're hoping for or something like that. I think Powell is a guy that can go out there if you're in a PPR league like Mike was talking about, and he can get you points. He can be in a flex in a pinch. I mean, the other guys, would you rather have him or James Starks or Jerick McKinnon?
No, I'd rather have Powell over any of those options.
Right, in a redraft, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I look at Powell as I'd rather have Charles Sims than Bilal Powell.
Charles Sims is going to go in the 8th.
Right, and that's the difference. He's kind of a Charles
I look at
Sims
them in
type of guy.
Exactly. I look at them in the same, even maybe what Shaun Drone's going to be.
Yeah.
Yes. Maybe he's more of a little salad. I don't know. We'll see which guy goes first. Let me circle back here, Jason. I want to talk about one of the guys on your list. Here's something that happens in fantasy football. Certain players let you down, and certain players let you down and leave a stench upon
fantasy
their
burns. Roster
spot. And Ryan Tannehill left a stench upon every roster that Mike had him on. So he's in this list for you, and you put Ryan Tannehill as a sleeper this year, and I want to know why.
I did. I put Ryan Tannehill in here. It felt a little gross to do because of what you're saying, but there's a lot of times, you hear the phrase a post-hype sleeper, and what that is that's a guy who gets hyped up, who doesn't perform to that hype, but then the next year there was a reason for the hype originally. It didn't work out, and the next year he provides a value. That's what Ryan Tannehill is. And let me just give you a couple examples of why he does have the skills and the capability to be a fantasy player. First of all, in 2014, he was the quarterback 8 in fantasy.
Right.
So he was a QB1 already. And this is a guy, I mean, look up where Ryan Tannehill's being drafted, because I'm pretty sure it's very late. But he has already thrown 2 seasons of over 4,000 yards. Last year, which was super disappointing, he threw 4,200 yards and only 12 picks. The problem was he just had lower touchdowns. Well, Adam Gase is coming in, who was a guy who got the most out of Jay Cutler. He was the guy that was the offensive coordinator for the 50, touchdown Peyton Manning season. He gets touchdowns through the air.
He gets touchdowns.
I believe in it. And you also have to keep in mind, like, Tannehill was a late convert to the quarterback position. He's only had 4 years. And if you look back at these quarterbacks that we know are so great, I mean, they're the best, right? Breeze, Roethlisberger, Tom Brady, Carson Palmer, these stalwarts. None of those guys, not one of those guys I just mentioned, got 4,000 yards before they were 27 years old. Brady was 28. And in the case of Brady and Roethlisberger and Drew Brees, it took 6 seasons for them to actually get to 4,000 yards. My point is not that Ryan Tannehill is going to be one of these Hall of Fame level quarterbacks, but the point is we jump off of people too quick at the quarterback position, and we leave them for dead. I think with Gase coming in, with Devontae Parker there, with Jarvis Landry, they drafted Tunsil on the offensive line, they drafted Laurent Carew. They're wanting him to succeed. The weapons are there. The scheme is there. Where he's being drafted, he presents a big value.
The 13th round.
Well, and that's the thing, right? Like, if he doesn't succeed in this situation,
yeah, he won't be on my sleepers next year.
Yeah, I was going to say, then he won't be on the sleeper. I want to talk about, and so that's an interesting perspective on Tannehill. I want to bring up a guy that I'm really, really growing on and make the case to you guys. This is the only sleeper I have on our list that was my special pick on today's show, and that's Tavon Austin. Tavon Austin right now is a 10th round pick, okay? So he qualifies in that sleeper category. And I'm really rising on him, and I know that, you look back last year at St. Louis, and they probably were in contention for some of the worst quarterback play you could have seen.
What? No.
Yeah. And
Nick Foles,
and so as
superstar.
As opposed to the hesitations that you would have with a rookie quarterback coming into the fold, like you would if, let's say, Paxton Lynch starts in Denver, and you start questioning the production of those receivers, you're not facing that situation in St. Louis because the bar is set so low that, Jason could probably get over it. Now,
that's a low bar.
Thank you.
As long as you can step over it.
But let's talk about Tavon Austin. Let's just talk about the numbers to start with. He set career highs in all of the major categories last year. We're talking about reception totals, yards as a receiver, definitely career highs in rushing attempts. He went 52 attempts on the ground, 52 through the air. And so when you are the kind of broad overview perspective at the wide receiver position, you're not seeing Austin, right? You don't see that because you don't see the rushing totals when you're just glancing at these lists. But what Austin excites in me is this idea where he's 25 years old. He's a 25-year-old player, and he brings to the table something that you don't generally see outside of a little bit of Randall Cobb over the last few years. Percy Harvin was the last one to do it in a meaningful way. But he has this baseline that he's providing you with these rushing attempts. He had, I believe, almost half his games last year. He had 4 or more rushing attempts. This wasn't just like, okay, he gets 1, he gets 2. They're using him in that capacity to where he is rushing the ball every single game. He was actually somebody who, per target, was 3rd in the league in averaging the most fantasy points per target. He's dangerous after the catch. He's somebody who they use in a lot of different ways. And yes, you can, of all the coach speak that I'd love to avoid in the entire universe, Jeff Fisher's the one. John Fox is also in my mind.
Yes.
But, I'd like to avoid Jeff Fisher, but I think what you saw last year is the maturing of a player who is plain and simply a weapon in an offense. He was, I think, somebody who ended the year surprising everybody as the 23rd wide receiver. I think when I looked at his actual game logs, I would have been happy starting Tavon Austin in half his games last year. And for somebody going in the 10th round with that kind of youth and upside, I don't know. I started to get a little bit excited about it. I think what Gurley brings to the offense affords opportunity for Tavon Austin. And so if I had somebody late in the draft, you talk about Kamar Aiken. He's not Kamar Aiken. He doesn't give you this like kind of PPR baseline, but he gives you an upside and he gives you this dual threat that I'm kind of excited about. So I think Tavon Austin belongs on people's sleepers list as long as he's being drafted where he's being drafted.
Yeah, and the rushing matters because with him, I mean, they use him as a decoy sometimes and as a weapon sometimes. He had 4 rushing touchdowns.
Right.
For fantasy, 4 touchdowns is huge. How many touchdowns did Mike Wallace have all year?
I have no idea. Is it 0?
No. Well, Mike Wallace, or I'm sorry, Mike Evans. How many?
No, yeah.
Mike Evans had 2, I believe.
Yeah.
It's like, why Mike Wallace?
Well, my point about the quarterback was just that if they improve at all on the offensive side of the ball and are down in the red zone a little bit more, those opportunities are going to be there. Outside of Gurley getting the ball, Austin's the next best weapon on that team. So I just like him from a value perspective. He's a little uncomfortable to start on your team because you like that cozy feeling, right? The Julian Edelman cozy.
But
Austin has upside.
There's something much more comfortable about starting a player in a powerful offense.
Right.
Because you don't worry that the team's only going to put up, 9 points and not have a lot of production, whereas Tavon Austin you do. But that's why he presents a value here. You're getting a guy who finished as a wide receiver 2 last year in the 11th round.
I just don't think we've seen the best of him either.
Because of the
age. Yeah.
All I could think about was a Julian Edelman-shaped drink koozie.
Yeah.
Just keeping my drink safe and cold.
I would love a Julian Edelman koozie. If you have one, send us one.
He's got great hands.
He's got great hands.
All right, so I'm going to go back to the quarterback position with a guy. Ryan Tannehill, well, he gave me about 50 lashes on the Matt Ryan. He did this to me as well. He was a guy who I was very, very high on going into the season with the K-Shy, that Kyle Shanahan offense, which has produced some very strong quarterback play. We saw the benefits for Julio Jones as he went. His yardage was just out of control. But here's the deal for Matt Ryan, where people are very down on him. He had a bad year. Did he? Did he really have a bad year? Because this is what he did: 5th in attempts, 3rd in completions, 7th in completion percentage, 5th in yards. I mean, those are absolutely astounding quarterback numbers. Here was the problem: 19th in touchdowns. That is an epic failure right there. What I propose to you, Foot Clan, is I think that Matt Ryan, the 2nd year in the system, can improve that. There's already talk of the Falcons saying we kind of messed up. We need to take more deep shots with Julio Jones. And I think Julio Jones owners would strongly agree with that statement. Let him go, make a play, let him score some touchdowns. So I just think that Matt Ryan can really improve. And you know what I think is funny about Matt Ryan, and you have Blake Bortles, who has become this fantasy hero. Matt Ryan was better than Blake Bortles in every possible passing category except for touchdowns. Now, we expect some regression from Blake Bortles in the touchdown department, and I expect an improvement for Matt Ryan. Last year, 21 touchdowns. The previous 5 years, he had averaged 28.6.
Yeah.
So you just give him around his average, and Matt Ryan all of a sudden is a tremendous value. He's a low-end quarterback one, which I think he can do. Don't jump off of Matt Ryan just yet.
I think the most impressive thing of that argument is the discussion about the Bortles numbers compared to Ryan. Here's the only thing I will say that I want to see happen in Atlanta is that when Ryan was more efficient in the red zone, it was Tony Gonzalez and it was Roddy White and Julio Jones. I want to see who that number 2 weapon is going to be in the red zone. I know you've got Devonta Freeman.
It's probably
who
Freeman
offers
now.
value, but
Mohamed Sanu is a big-bodied guy that I think in the red zone helps.
That's the thing. You have to have somebody else that's going to give him that target because Jones is going to be double and triple covered in the red zone and probably still get his. But last year there were multiple games in a row where Julio didn't score, and Matt Ryan felt the impact of that. And so for me, all those things for a bounce back in the touchdown areas are there. I think they will go up. It's going to be that second and third weapon that make them go up even further to me.
Yeah, I like Matt Ryan more than Ryan Tannehill as a sleeper. 21 touchdowns for Matt Ryan is the outlier. He has a lot of years of 27, 26,
So we like the
28.
Ryans this year. There's a Ryan Tannehill, Matt Ryan, Ryan Matthews.
All right, well, here is my next sleeper. It is Marvin Ryan Jones.
Oh,
Marvin Ryan Jones.
I've heard of him.
I have a water bet with a listener between Marvin Jones and Golden Tate. I took Golden Tate because I'm very high on him. I think he's going to get near 100 receptions and be better than Marvin Jones.
Who's going to throw him the ball?
Matthew Stafford.
Oh, okay.
No, I believe
sure.
Matthew Ryan
There's no
Stafford.
time for your Matt Stafford
All right.
love right now.
All right. Sorry. I was just
here's-
curious who the quarterback was.
Here's
for
why
these awesome seasons.
Marvin Jones is a great sleeper candidate because while you have to pay up for Golden Tate,
I can't believe
in the
he's a
fourth,
sleeper. That's what's amazing.
Well, the sleeper, we said sleeper is, 9th and later. And I think Marvin Jones isn't really flying under the radar the way that you normally think of as a sleeper. Maybe
No,
you
but
call
he
that a
kinda
value,
is.
but-
That's what
but
amazes me.
Yeah, he's going in the 9th round. And we just heard, from the Lions camp about how they're redoing the offense, right? Jim Bob Cooter came in. He took over and he kept things similar but simplified it last year in the second half of the season. Now he's coming in. There's whole new play calls, whole new play schemes. Everything is different. We've heard that from the Lions camp that nothing is the same. And so that gives an advantage to Marvin Jones over Golden Tate as far as it doesn't necessarily mean he's the better option, but it takes away the advantage that Golden Tate had in knowing the system. Now, he's still got the rapport with Matthew Stafford built, but Matthew Stafford today came out and said that without Calvin, the ball's going to get spread around more. He's not going to necessarily lock in on one guy. Golden Tate might not be that guy. So there is a world here where Marvin Jones finishes as their number 1. I think it's more of a 1A, 1B. Still like Golden Tate better. But if you're telling me I have to pick one of those two guys and it's going to cost either a 4th rounder or a 9th rounder, I'm going to go with Marvin Jones because he doesn't cost me much and he has nearly the same upside. And don't forget, so in 2013, Marvin Jones had a 10-touchdown season in the NFL. No, I'm just saying, this is a player who can get it done.
Ain't no Pop Warner.
Well, I'm not talking college here. This is, and then he was injured in 2014. He
Not
missed
talking practice.
missed
talking the
2014.
game.
How to do an arena?
Oh,
what
man.
were his arena stats?
Killed 26 touchdowns
I believe that
for the Arizona Rattlers.
in one game.
Yes. And then he was injured for all of 2014, came back, had a good year last year. So he is capable. He has value. He's got the role and the opportunity. When those things all line up, I don't see much better values than him for where he's being drafted.
I'm surprised he hasn't risen more. As long as he's there, he's definitely a value. We got time for one more sleeper before we get into the mailbag.
That's
Mike,
good news because I have one more guy that I
wow.
want to talk about.
Fortunate.
And that is, we brought up Ryan Tannehill. I want to bring up a guy who earned a contract catching balls from Ryan Tannehill. And that is
Okay.
that is Rishard Matthews. Rishard Matthews was, I would say, for the fantasy purposes, was a bit of an unknown. We didn't want to trust him.
No, we didn't.
But
I didn't want to.
Through the first 9 games, he was pretty solid. 57 targets in the first 9 games. That's just over 6 targets a game. In that time, he had 4 touchdowns. Tennessee gave him not a out-of-control big contract, but they paid him. They paid him to come in and be a starting wide receiver for that team. And just this is similar to the Tavon Austin talk of getting a pass catcher from a non-prolific passing offense. I would put it to you, I think Rishard Matthews is the best wide receiver on that team right now. I mean, the people love the intrigue and the possibilities that Dorial Green Beckham presents. He was drafted in the 2nd round. He's got the physical makeup of Calvin Johnson. Well, there's reports coming out that they have Tarjay Sharp passing him on the depth chart because they want to get something out of Green Beckham. A player in the NFL who needs to be passed by a rookie on the depth chart to motivate him is a gigantic red flag. Now, Green Beckham didn't get to play a ton last year, and I don't know if that's because he simply didn't work his way on the field or if that was Ken Wisenhunt, who doesn't really like playing rookies. Either way, there's just, like I said, there's red flags all over the place for Green Beckham, who's getting drafted way higher. Rishard Matthews is essentially free.
Yeah, he's 15th, almost 15th round.
He's free in drafts right now. I don't expect him to set the world on fire at all, but for him to give you consistent, wide receiver 3, maybe dip into low-end wide receiver 2 numbers on any given week, I think Rishard Matthews is the guy for Tennessee.
I will say this. I think that, and this is probably contrarian to everybody's DGB love, but I think Rishard Matthews is their best wide receiver. But I don't really love him as a sleeper. The shade you threw on DGB can also be thrown a bit on Rishard Matthews in the sense that the reason
what does being the best in Tennessee mean?
Exactly. You've got Rishard Matthews, you've got Kendall Wright, you've got DGB, you've got Delaney Walker, and I don't expect to be one of the top 10 passing volume teams. I expect them to be if they're
probably not top 20.
Right. And so, if they're a bottom 10 passing team splitting targets 4 ways, it's going to take some injuries or something to happen to have one of those guys really pop off. But he is free. He is talented. Maybe he develops a rapport, but I'm lukewarm on that.
All right. There are we have several more sleepers on the Ultimate Draft Kit. You can check that out on ultimatedraftkit.com. And we'll be talking more about sleepers all off season as well. Let's go ahead and we like to answer listener questions. That's why we do this show is you bring your questions from your team, your league, your format. You bring them to us, and we give you our thoughts and hopefully help you win those titles.
Mailbag.
Yeah. When Matt Harmon was in here, the biggest shock to his system, because we had him in studio,
was my insight?
Was the fact that, nope, not your insight.
Not at all.
That's a shock to us each and every time that occurs. It's the fact that you live sing the mailbag drop. People think this is recorded, apparently.
I would never do it any other way.
Well, of course they think it's recorded. It sounds identical every time. It is really impressive.
Yes, it is.
That's my wheelhouse, baby.
Yeah. So there you go. If you have a question, you can go to the website, thefantasyfootballers.com. You can also send us voicemail questions, 302-464-TFFB. And in fact, we have a live stream coming up here in a week on jointhefoot.com as well, where we answer a lot of questions. So if you want to get involved, head over to jointhefoot.com. Check that out. First question comes in from Alec in Delaware, and this is essentially an explain yourself question.
What are you doing here, Alec?
Because he's calling us out, and well, I think we got an answer. All right. Hey, guys, I was just looking through your standard wide receiver rankings on the website, and I almost choked on my drink, which is hard to do, when I saw the elite stud. Who is it?
Nuke Hopkins?
I just want to know who elite studs are. So it's Nuke.
Oh, yeah,
right?
DeAndre Hopkins.
So DeAndre Hopkins, who went very high on some of the expert drafts we saw at FSTA, we have him ranked behind, quote, clowns.
So this is not our verbiage. This is Alec in Delaware.
Yeah, ranked behind clowns like Evans and Jeffery. D-Hop is a consistent elite and always healthy performer entering the prime, his prime, and that has consistently performed with dumpster fire quarterback play. How is he ranked 9th in your consensus wide receiver rankings? Please explain. Love your show. Oh, now he's nice. Makes the work commute more enjoyable.
I love D-Hop music. It's very good.
I would love to take this one on. Look, to have a guy 9th is not to be throwing some serious shade on him. We think he's a wide receiver
It is
1.
bold to have Evans ahead of him.
Okay, so
I will concede that. Jeffery not. I think you can make a strong argument there. I think the average expert has Evans behind.
Hopkins. He
as a
did say,
consensus.
in standard leagues, and in
Right.
standard leagues, that's where DeAndre Hopkins doesn't have the extreme value from all of his targets and receptions. But the reality is, look, Hopkins is great, but we saw two tails last year between the Texans as a team. You saw them have the worst defense in the league to start the year. And oh my goodness, was DeAndre Hopkins on fire. And then to finish the year, you saw them with like the best defense in the league. And you have to keep in mind that affects your offense. I expect Houston to come through this year with a great defense again. And in those final weeks, from week 12 to 17, DeAndre Hopkins in a standard league was the 22nd ranked wide receiver. That kind of shocked me when I looked that up. Now, I'm not saying DeAndre Hopkins is 22nd. I'm just saying to say that he's, it's a travesty or a sham.
No, and
to say, he's number 9 in standard. Look, that's just how I see it playing out.
He's 5 in our PPR rankings. He's 6 in our half-point rankings. It's just we have Jeffery and Evans being more efficient with touchdowns.
Yeah, and we have an article coming out. We're launching a huge article section on the site soon. And if you want more information, there's actually a great series by Kyle Borgnoni. He's a great writer, does some film work for Pro Football Focus. He's going to be writing, and he did this whole series on target regression, and it has a highlight piece on the regression candidate of DeAndre Hopkins. Again, we're not saying we don't love him. Yep. We're just saying, you gotta look at things and not get emotionally.
Yeah, you were asked to explain the logic behind the ranking.
Yeah.
And that when you look at the second half of the season, the logic behind the ranking is there. The team became a defensive-oriented team that actually performed up to their value as a defense. They don't want to be a prolific, throw the ball on every down type of offense. They had to because they were down by 5,000 points every game in the beginning of the year.
And I'll just throw this out. The year 1 under Bill O'Brien, they ranked 1st in rushing attempts. Last year, they ranked 5th. So for a team that runs the ball that much, and if you don't have an elite-level quarterback, it's hard to sustain, like top 5 wide receiver numbers in that kind of a system if you don't have a Rodgers or a Tom Brady throwing you the ball.
All right.
The Brock Lobster.
Yeah. Let's the Brock.
Someone on Twitter sent me that name, and I said, that's incredible.
The Brock. I saw
Brock Lobster.
I saw a picture of the Brock Lobster.
As one who I don't have many impersonations in my repertoire that I bust out, but I will frequently go B-52s.
I'm gonna change the subject.
Thank you. Just saying.
You did a Australian accent on the Patreon Mailbag show that I thought was quite good.
I thank you.
I was very impressed, not because you began with a good accent, but because you sustained it.
Yes, I was really
very
impressed
impressive
as well.
Thank you, fellas. Thank you. I practiced.
So well done. You go home and you practice.
Yeah.
Good.
That's my off
B-52s in that. All right.
Like, hey, Mike, you gonna research for for those show notes? I'm like, yeah, sure. After I practice my Australian accent.
Yeah, good job. Tom in Syracuse. I am a believer in drafting a quarterback in later rounds, but I have seen steals with Rodgers and Newton falling to the 5th and 6th. At that point, it is very hard to pass them up. I would normally wait for a Romo or Eli in round 11 or 10. Would you pass on Rodgers and Newton at this value, or take one and make tight end a later priority? His league specifically is a 4-point per touchdown passing league. I would not pass on Aaron Rodgers.
No way.
Or Newton in a 4-point league.
I would pass on Newton in the 5th. I still think Newton is going to be good, but I don't expect him to. I mean, his efficiency last year was
outrageous,
mind-blowing. You know that
but in a 4-point league, his rushing is so valuable that I think both of them would be steals in the 5th.
Yeah, I think he's going to be okay. I would just rather grab – I mean, I just brought up all the 5th-round running backs that I really like I would rather grab one of them and have a Drew Brees.
So you draft Matt Forte in the 5th round over Cam Newton?
Yes, for sure. Because
I
Drew
would not
Brees
in a
and
4-point
guys like
league.
that, I'm fine with. But if Aaron Rodgers is in the 5th, I'm going to grab him every time.
Okay.
Yeah, I will too.
All right, Brunner in Switzerland.
Bonjour.
Hey, guys. Great fan of the show and proud owner of a #FootClan title.
All right.
I wanted to ask you this in preparation of the coming draft. At what point in the draft do you target defenses and kickers? Is it worth going? Is it worth it to go earlier in the draft for a Denver defense or something? No, turnover on defenses year to year is pretty high in terms of who performs well. Good example would be everybody and their mother drafted the Houston Texans early last year as a top-notch defense, and you probably dropped them by week 3 or 4.
You definitely dropped them.
Yeah,
they were
the
putting
people
up
that,
huge negative numbers.
Yeah, the people that they benefited were the people that signed them off of waivers in week 7. The other example is if you don't draft, for example, Gostkowski, how do you pick a kicker that you want to stream?
Sure. I'll just say I'm fine maybe reaching around early if you want for Gostkowski. That's fine with me, but I would not go any earlier than that. As far as my kicker strategy of who do I want, it depends on your scoring format. If you get the bonus points for the longer field goal kicks, successful field goal kicks, I like a guy like a Justin Tucker who can boot it from 50. Other than that, I try to get a guy who plays predominantly either for a good offense or indoors. I still buy into that. An indoor kicker will be better.
Yeah, I definitely look for good offenses. That's what matters to me. I look and I say, who's the best offense? And sometimes people are like, well, then they're going to score and you only get an extra point. But the best offenses, look at Gostkowski, right? I mean, he's on the Patriots. They're a great offense. You want a guy that's going to be on a team that's moving the ball, giving them opportunities. That's the main thing.
All right, I'm gonna wrap the show now. That's it for today's show. The Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on iTunes. Leave us reviews on iTunes. That helps the show a lot. We've got a show coming Thursday. In July, we'll have 3 a week, guys. We'll be up to 3 a week. Everybody's excited about that, so I am as well. There's so much to talk about. If you want an extra episode a week right now, you can go to jointhefoot.com and take part in our fantasy football community. More than 1,200 of you are already on there enjoying the benefits of that Foot Clan membership. So hop on to jointhefoot.com. Send us your feedback. We are a fan-first podcast. This show exists because of you and everything that you bring to the table. We try to be active on social media. We try to be active on your emails and everything else and get back to as many people as possible. We want you to win your league. There's genuinely nothing more rewarding for us as a show than to see all the Foot Clan titles coming in. That's the goal this year. That's why we do this. We want you to enjoy the league that you're in. We want you to enjoy your league mates and have fun with them, and we want you to win your league and lord it over them for the entirety of the year.
I will. Hashtag Foot Clan title.
And jump on the YouTube for the show after the show.
That's
today.
what we're going to get into right now.
I'm so excited to talk about it.
We'll be talking Game of Thrones episode 9.
Yep, and so that is it for today. Thank you very much for joining us. Check out the Ultimate Draft Kit as well if you want more sleepers like today, and come back on Thursday for a brand new show. So
if you want,
glad to be back.
And if you want anything from the good luck or congratulations, not good luck.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Join our fantasy football community on jointhefoot.com and follow us on Twitter @TheFFBallers.